Hello, I'd like to talk today about a subject that's close to many people's hearts, which is about eating and food. And it causes many powerful issues, and those issues come up for many of us. Some people use food and eating to cope with strong feelings and stress, and our eating habits can be one response to feeling bad. Even though our relationship with food can be affected by our emotional state, sometimes we aren't aware that that's actually going on because it's so hidden. So this can be a problem. If it happens all the time, it becomes really problematic for us. So one of the things we need to do is bring our awareness to the problem, and that's a major starting point to realize that our eating is an emotional problem. I'll just give you an example. I'm going to use a lady, her name's Sarah, that's not her real name, and she went out on a date with somebody she really liked, but he didn't call her again afterwards. She felt upset, rejected and disappointed. So what she did was her response was to binge eat, to cope with the intensity of the unpleasant feelings that she felt, not because he hadn't called her back, but because she felt such unpleasant emotions. She also thought that he might have rejected her because of her weight. So she considered going on a strict diet because of that. So our connection to our food can be really, really strong through our emotional system. Something within us wants to make us feel better, but we don't always know how to deal with the emotions. So we choose to eat more or eat less, and we lose our balance. And this is where the habit of unbalanced eating can begin. Sometimes we eat more to relieve boredom or to comfort or reward ourselves. And we're always doing what appears to be the best option in each moment of our lives. This chart that we're going to put up for you now shows us the difference, so we can see it clearly, between actual physical hunger and hunger that is generated by emotion. So you can probably see the two sides of the chart, and you can see that emotional hunger can leave you feeling bad about yourself, and it causes cravings for unhealthier options too much of the time, whereas physical hunger, when you're hungry, you eat and you're full. But emotional hunger, you're just trying to numb something, or you're trying to address an emotion that you just can't deal with. So the two things are really, really different. And it's good to see them so you can understand whether emotional eating is something that you relate to. So we'll take that away now. The real issue underneath our eating habit comes from a need to have a real conversation with ourselves about what is really going on, okay? We project our needs onto food, overstuffing ourselves or restricting our food intake to feed another kind of hunger. And that hunger could be a need for more affection, attention, care, or compassion, but there's always another kind of hunger underneath. And often when we don't address the real issue underneath our habit of eating, then we start to use our eating habit as a way to control these uncomfortable emotions. As you may know, sometimes when we feel out of control, we try to establish control over something to make us feel better. We're just going to put a little slide up now that really explains this quite well. And it shows us that there's a connection between our relationship with food and our inner world. It's quite a nice one to print out, actually, this one, if you want to do that, so we'll have it up at the end. And our fear of emotional emptiness is seen in our overeating. It just really shows you, it's a nice one to show you how our food and emotions are all connected in a cycle. And it's a really good one to print out. And just to remember that sometimes when you feel like you need to look at something to remind you, okay, I'm eating too much or not eating enough. It just reminds you why that might be. And as I said earlier, and Becca's going to take that away, instead of overeating, some people's habit is to undereat or underconsume, and some people restrict their food intake when they're upset, distressed, or stressed out. And food can be the only thing they feel they can control, as their emotions feel so out of control. When I was a teenager, I learned to control my eating to the point where I couldn't eat in front of other people, and I restricted my intake to manage my unhappiness. It was a way of me controlling my emotions. When I realized it was my lack of awareness of even the most basic emotions that was causing me to restrict my food, then I was able to take steps to sort that out. And then my eating habits actually naturally restored themselves when I realized that it was an emotional thing. I didn't know, I couldn't tell between the emotions very clearly, which I learned to do. I was lucky. I met some good friends who helped me see through the reasons for my attempt to control my eating. And I just want to say, if anybody else feels like that or knows somebody who who feels like that, then it's a good idea to share your secret emotional life, which is basically what it boils down to, because people can't see on the surface how you feel. It's like a secret emotional life. Share that with someone you trust, because it can be the key to changing your eating habits, as it was for me. So how we deal with difficult emotions, like I did, is key to understanding how we change our relationship to food. If we recognize that some of our negative eating habits are to do with mood intolerance or feeling overwhelmed by emotion, then it's important that we learn other ways to deal with difficult feelings other than eating more or eating less. And we all need to learn what works for us, as everyone has different ways of coping. One approach is to identify and name the emotion that we're feeling. Now, this can take practice, especially if we're used to ignoring the feeling, distracting ourselves, or pushing it aside, as I was. So Becca's going to put a really simple slide up now. And this slide says, how are you feeling? And you've heard this so many times. People ring you up, they say, how are you feeling? You see a friend in the street, how are you feeling? A lot of us blag it when we get asked that question, and we don't really say what's really going on. It's a really powerful thing to ask yourself. And what I've learned to do is a simple thing, but put your hand on your heart and say, am I okay? If not, what am I feeling? What do I need? And if you can stay with that uncomfortable emotion for a few minutes, it changes. And you can understand, oh, okay, I was just feeling like that because I needed some more care, some kindness at that time. So you can start to understand a little bit more about your own emotions, because your emotions are really embodied. They're right in your body, and they show you all the time what your problem is. And if you ignore them, then you're going to get into difficulty, and you're going to start a habit, like an eating habit, to try and cover over those emotions. Okay? So really feel into that really simple question, even though it seems very simple. Even a simple pause and care for yourself may help you to get in touch with your emotional state. Don't brush it off or pretend you don't feel anything. Allow yourself to feel, okay? Emotions are allowed. Feel them, okay? When you encounter emotional difficulties, you can start and try these 6 simple steps that may help. Now, I found this, it was the Gottman Institute. The Gottman Institute is a very famous institute with lots of psychological interventions and techniques. And they've come up with this really great slide that Becca's putting up for us now, which is 6 steps to mindfully deal with difficult emotions. So when you realize that you're starting to have a difficult emotion, it gives you the steps to go through. And you can either, again, print one of these out and use it in your mental health first aid kit that you carry around with you, or just read through it. And, if it bings for you, start using it. And it's got different techniques here. So it's got the acceptance, identifying, accepting emotions again, realize the impermanence of your emotions, which is the one I talked about before. When you ask yourself, how do I feel? And you feel, actually, I don't feel so good. But, if you stay with that, after a while, that emotion changes and a different emotion comes on. So it's learning how emotions are impermanent. Okay, so that's a really great little 6-step guide. And it's also useful to have steps to follow when you're learning to understand your emotions a bit more, because otherwise it's a huge area. It can be overwhelming. So use your 6 steps. So that one's quite useful. There's another one we've got, which we don't want to overwhelm you with too much information, but the mindfulness of emotions on the Get Self-Help website is fantastic. And Becca's just going to put that one up for now. This is a bigger worksheet, which we will put up at the end. And again, it covers emotions and managing your emotions, and it asks you to investigate your emotions. So it asks you, how do I feel? And then it takes you into more detailed questions like, how intensely do you feel that emotion? Is anything changing? What word best describes how you're feeling? So the whole idea behind all of these exercises is to get you more and more familiar with your whole emotional life, because emotions are so strong, so powerful, so colourful. It's a really good idea to learn to kind of feel into them a bit more and understand them. I mean, one of my favourite songs by Florence and the Machine is a song called Hunger, which you may all know. And she sings, really well to this topic. We all have a hunger. She sings that over and over. And the hunger she's talking about is an emotional hunger. She's not talking about hunger for food. And it's quite good to listen to that song, actually, by Florence, if you like her. And it takes you to that place, okay, we all have a hunger. Everyone has this emotional need within us. And it's good to start addressing that. I'd really like to end today by saying that everyone is doing the best they can, given the thinking that we have that looks real to us at the time, in that moment. And if we could do anything differently, or we would do it. But if now feels like the right time for you, then get in touch and try the Silver Cloud program on positive body image, or contact me at Mind, and I can take you through the positive body image program, and we can look at this whole area of eating together. I'm really happy to do that. Chris Martin, another one of my, talking about music today, my favourite band's Coldplay, on his last album, Head Full of Dreams, he put this poem by Rumi. Rumi's a famous Turkish poet, and it's called The Guest House. And this poem really talks about emotions. And Becca's going to put it up now. It's the last thing we'll put up for you today. And it talks about being human, and it talks about us as people, and about our emotions arriving and coming and going throughout us throughout the day. And it says to welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. So it's basically saying that emotion comes and goes. We are the container for all our emotion that comes and goes. And when you start to come to terms with that, and you really realize that emotions are impermanent and that they don't stay. We're not just a sad person or a happy person. Our emotions change, throughout the whole day. This is a really great poem. I mean, Chris Martin said it changed his life when he read this poem. It really struck home for him, and it struck home for me as well. So it might be a poem that you like to print out and use. Okay, well, I can talk a little bit more about emotions next week. If people feed me anything back in the comments and you'd like to do that a bit more, I can answer any specific questions if you like. Or like I said before, please get in touch and please use the Silver Cloud program. And I'm happy, or my colleague Jenny, we're both happy to take you through the program. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.